All right, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to the Franchise Empire newsletter. I'm here with Mr. Kevin. What's up, man?
Hey, how are you? How was your weekend?
How was my weekend? It was all right. Yeah, I did. I got some good workouts in. I've been on a slump with my workouts, so that felt good. What about yours?
I did more eating and drinking, so I didn't get any workouts in, but I need to start. I'm going to start today, actually. So,
Boom. No time like the present. All right, y'all. Well, today we are going to cover one franchise resale that is crushing it. Huge opportunity. We're going to cover a lower cost franchise of the week that owners are averaging 1 million in sales, and lower cost franchise in my eyes is like 250K or less. I know that may not meet the standard definition or criteria, but given like most retail franchises are 4 or 5 $600,000 to get open, I think between 2 to 250 is low cost in my eyes. Client case study: you bought a resale that fully replaces income. Actually, he just hit me up saying that he's about to buy a different resale, totally different franchise, because that he doesn't really have to work that much in his business, which is
nice.
interesting. He's only like a year in. And then the latest episode of the Franchise Empire show with the huge multi-unit franchisee. So we're going to dive into these. I think you guys are going to get a lot of value out of it. But real quick, the message in this newsletter was, the longer we wait to change something, typically the worse the situation gets. This is applicable in almost every area of our life. Like just sweeping things under the rug when you know it needs to change. One example is going to the dentist. Actually, it just popped in my head because like I've been having like something's been bothering me in my mouth, and they keep calling me to book my appointment, and I keep blowing it off because I'm busy and like it's not a priority. But here's what happens. And I know Kevin, like a few months ago recently,
Yeah.
had some fun trips to the dentist, so you could probably relate to this analogy. But it doesn't, like, ignoring it may make you feel better for the short term. It'll just make things worse. And so when you are unhappy in your life circumstances, or you feel like, you want to be a business owner and you know, you're doing something else, whatever it is that you want to change, even if it has nothing to do with being a business owner, like if you don't change it now, it will get worse. Right, Kevin?
Yeah. It's so funny. I'm just laughing because me and you are wired so similarly. It's like I ignored the dentist. I'm like, I don't want to spend time at the dentist. Like my time is valuable. If I do want to spend time doing something other than work, I want to spend it with my family or go work out or something or go play pickleball. So I like continue to put it off. And then yeah, of course I have to get a crown and all that other bullshit. So but yeah, it's you got to just address it even if it's not something you want to. But I mean, it's so crazy. Like I talk to so many people and they just hate their jobs. They hate that, my sister, we always have conversations. She's been in her job for, 15 plus years and she hates it and she wants out. And it's just like, you have to start making steps to get out or otherwise you're going to be in the same position 5 years from now. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, and it's tough until the pain gets to a certain point, and sometimes even then, the like it's you got to go, you got to make a change, and sometimes it's just someone pointing it out, really just saying, look. Anyways, all right. So let's talk about our first resale. So what do we got here, Kevin?
Yeah, so I've talked about Express a couple times, and so people are probably like, why do you keep talking about this opportunity? But it's a really good franchise. So when we find a good resale like this, we feel like it's worth showing everybody. So this one again, Express Employment Professionals. If you heard us before, it's a staffing company. They're really well established. They have close to 800 units in the U.S. alone. So They do temporary, temporary staffing services, and then they do like temp to full hire, and then just like one-time placement services. So it's a lot of like commercial blue collar office type of jobs, but you can dabble into like other verticals. So, excuse me, this particular resale is in Columbus, Ohio. Started in 2013. Asking price, let's just call it a million. It's basically a million, but 4 employees on staff, 7,500 business establishments in their territory. And they have a large presence already with like the light industrial skilled trades, like I was mentioning before. So, I mean, with this asking price, you would assume for this type of business, they're bringing in, a pretty good seller's discretionary earning every year. So for somebody that really needs to replace their income and wants to dive into something full time, this could be a perfect fit because, again, based on that asking price, without seeing the specific financials for it, you would think that it's doing pretty well from a seller's discretionary earning standpoint. But owner's retiring, the office lease would be transferred to the new owner. Overall, we love this franchise. I mean, Tarek, you and I have talked about it. We've helped people buy this franchise before. The item 19 is very extensive, which we appreciate. It shows a lot of data in there. The most recent one we have access to, it shows, 418 units open over 60 months. Their average annual sales was 7.1 million, which is just crazy. So that's a lot of units, 418 units to disclose. 3 years or more open, or wait, no, this 60. No, that's like more like 5 years, but still, it shows that it's a very scalable opportunity. And then over 90% of these owners did not come from like a staffing or recruiting background. You really don't need that. They have a really dialed in system. So the people that we've helped buy this, they've gone through the validation and even the training. They said like, the system is what it is. Like they say, you do this, you're going to eventually get to where you want to be. If you try to do, something different than the system and recreate the wheel, which isn't very smart in my opinion, then you probably won't experience the results. But I think this is one where it's like proven the system works. And so this particular resale, it's in Columbus, which is a pretty big market, could be a really good opportunity.
Boom. Yeah. This is interesting. One of the things that I wonder, I don't know if you've looked into this before. So is this like when they show the average sales, is that the total, but the franchisees only receive a portion of that revenue, meaning like that's like the total payroll amount?
Total billings is what they're going to call it. Yeah.
Total
So
billings.
total billings to like your end clients. And then the way it works is like you're going to have all your temporary staff on your payroll, and then you just obviously mark up their hourly rate to the end. So it's total billings minus whatever your labor costs are, and then you'll have some below the line fixed expenses like office, and then you probably have a couple salaried employees that help with the recruiting and things like that.
Got it. Do you know what the markup is, or like what they recommend the markup to be?
That's a good question. I should know that. I don't know. I think it's partly based on your local market, and they'll probably help you figure out, what that markup is. But from my experience, it's pretty significant. Like I want to say, and don't quote me on this, but I want to say it's like double what you're like. If you're charging $30 an hour, you can charge like, or if you're paying your employee $30 an hour, you can charge like the end business customer 60. It's almost double from what I understand.
Yeah, that's interesting. It wouldn't surprise me. I remember one time I went on a website called, well, I'm not going to say the name of the website, but they help you source marketing people, and turned out their markup was 100%. So I was paying this person, this marketing contractor, like $150 an hour, because it was just like a part-time contractor for a very like senior kind of specialist. And it turned out like he was getting like $75 an hour or something like that. It was pretty crazy. So, but at the end of the day, you're providing value, right? It's just all about who's kind of taking on the risk of having to do the work, and so on and so forth. So it's really interesting.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, the value is there because a lot of these small and medium sized businesses you're working with, they don't have like an HR department at all. It might still be the owner trying to hire people, and they land a big project where they need more employees for a year, and they got to get going quickly. I mean, there's a lot of value to just being able to supplement their workforce for the time they need. So I don't think staffing companies are going, like, staffing companies are very profitable and they've been around for a long time. I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon, because I just don't see
No.
small and medium sized business owners wanting to like hire internal HR people. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah. No. What? Yeah. 100%. Cool. So, guys, if you want to inquire about if you're in Columbus, Ohio, or if you're like, you know what, I'd relocate for the right opportunity and I'd want to go to Columbus, Ohio, and you want to check and see if this is available in your area, you can go to franchiseempire.com /resales, and then we can check to see what's available in your specific area, or you can find out more info on this specific resale. And this is like the perfect opportunity where I want to address something with you guys who are watching, which is, it takes a lot of work to put these newsletters together. An overwhelming majority of the work is done by Kevin and Krista. They're the ones that go out, source this information every week. They spend the time compiling the data, putting together the franchise empire take, doing the research. It's actually a good amount of work every single week. And, we come on and our goal is to provide value on this live to do this. And yes, like self-servingly, the reason why we do it is because we figure, hey, we're going to add value. And if you guys feel like you're getting value out of this, then it builds trust, rapport, and a relationship to go, I want to work with those guys. Like, once I'm ready to pursue buying a franchise, you guys are the ones that I want to work with. And I found out recently that there's a good amount of people that are, watching the newsletter and then just going directly to the franchisor. And so, of course, that's your prerogative to do that. But this is how we make money. This is how we're able to continue to provide value, to continue to make the videos, to continue to put this information out there. And so if it sounds like a bit of a guilt trip, it is. Because like this is our business. So if we're not the ones introducing you to the franchisor, like we don't make any money. And I realize that's going to happen in some instances. Some people aren't going to work with us. Cool. But like, if you've gotten value out of these newsletters and the information that we put out there, I would just ask, like, please reach out to us first. Even if you don't want to work with us, even if it's just like, you know what, can you guys just make the intro and then screw off? Cool. We'll do that too. But our intention is to put out, no one else does this stuff. No one else puts out the depth of the value that we do. There's some folks that have newsletters. No one comes on and walks you through it and talks you through it and explains it to you and goes in the comments and asks questions. So I would just ask, like, if you, as you're going through this, when you see opportunities you like, please reach out, let us know, and set up that call with, Kevin or Chris or whatever. If after that you want the intro and you're like, hey guys, I actually don't even want to work with you, I just want to kind of do it on my own. Cool. Awesome. But you actually take away from our business, by taking the value that we're providing you. If you just go kind of behind our back, really, and just reach out directly to the franchisor. And you know what? Maybe I'm being ignorant in that some of you guys don't know that. Maybe some of you don't know that that's the way that it works, and that part of the reason why we do this newsletter is to provide the value for the information, so that then we can help to generate clients. And that's partly how we make money, by connecting you to the franchisor. So I just had to call it the elephant in the room. Kevin, you already know I'm feeling feisty today. I already told you. So maybe you knew this was coming.
I think some people don't even realize that's how it works. And they also don't realize, I mean, you're literally going to pay the same franchise fee whether we introduce you or you go direct. Like, you're going to pay the same investment. So
It's a good point.
you literally, and I know this, like, people probably have a hard time believing that when we say that, but that's a fact. And you might as well like use us. Like, if I were listening to this and I was interested, I would want to talk to myself because I'd want to hear about, like, okay, what type of people are Express looking for? What type of people have you placed in Express? What are the in and outs of it before I have a conversation and reach out to them, which, we're happy to speak with people about that. And then if you really are still serious about it, we make that connection. And maybe we make that connection and maybe we will look at other opportunities that are similar, or, like, we honestly never recommend just looking at one franchise. It doesn't make sense for a number of reasons. You should validate with a number of them. So, there's a lot of reasons to talk to us. Obviously, we're biased and we feel like we can add value, but it's a good point. Like, I don't think people realize, and it doesn't make any sense from a financial or even like a process standpoint not to go through us, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I get, sometimes the perspective is like, hey, I don't know if I feel ready, and I don't want to be sold. I think that's a lot of times why people want to start looking out on their own when they get the info. It's like, I don't want to be sold or convinced of anything. Well, like, that's not what we do, by the way. Like our job's not to convince you. Like, either you want to be a business owner or you don't. Like, we'll show you the opportunity. It's your decision. You got to do the due diligence. No one's going to drag you across the finish line. Like, either you want it or you don't. So
We're never
I
going
know
to,
that.
I've always said that we're never going to be able to convince somebody that you should start your own business. It has to be like something you're motivated and it's your idea you want to do. Like, I can help you, I can point you in the right direction of the right opportunities that you should evaluate, but it has to be something you're driven by. Like, I don't want to work with you if you're not like motivated to at least look into and evaluate if this is something for you. If you're like, I'm not really that serious, then it's, we're not going to force your hand.
Yeah. And that's actually not our target market. There's a lot of uh franchise development folks or franchise brokers or consultants or whatever the people want to call themselves, that they're like actively trying to sell you on opportunity. Like, they're actively going out hunting, DMing. We don't do any of that. Like, we're not out there trying to talk people into buying a franchise. We throw out the message, cast a wide net. Here's the value, here are the pros and cons. And then we have an attraction based model and messaging. So a lot of times, I know Kevin, through our conversations, you said it too, we'll talk people out of it. Like, hey, I don't think now's the right time for you. Or maybe you should just stick to growing your current business. Or maybe you should just, and like, we'll tell you the truth in terms of like, hey, I don't think that's a good idea. And people get in trouble actually by not listening to us. Right? We'll give them some advice. Hey, we think that's a dumb idea. Maybe Kevin doesn't say it's a dumb idea. I would probably be the one to say it's a dumb idea. Kevin would say it in a much nicer way. And then someone goes and does X said idea, right? And then they get hurt. Two recent scenarios. And I know we're dragging this one out today. I'm sorry. Kevin, do you have a meeting in 5 minutes?
Oh, it's all good.
Okay. Mine canceled. Or rescheduled, actually. So, two recent stories, guys. This is really important too, and then we'll move on to the next franchise, the one that makes the average owner makes 1 million, top 10% does 2.8 million. It's actually a really interesting franchise. Two scenarios that came up. One recently was a guy that I had talked to about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. He had inquired about our coaching and due diligence services. So one of the ways that we're different is that, we actually have like a due diligence offering where we help people and coach people through how to do due diligence of betting a franchise, which is like why we are the anti-salespeople, because we teach you how to tear it apart and figure out if it's not good or not the right fit. And we encourage you to do due diligence. So this guy decided that at the time, and that's a paid service, right? Some people opt to do it, some people don't. This guy decided at that point didn't want to do that. He had found the franchise on his own, and I had followed up with him a bunch of times too. He was like ignoring my emails, and it was kind of like rude, obnoxious. Finally, he was just like, "No, I'm not going to go with you." Like, all right, cool. Like a couple months ago, this guy sent me a message saying that he wanted to sell his franchise and that it wasn't going well. And these are the stories that I hear that like break my heart, because it's like we don't want to be the folks that are trying to hard sell anyone or convince anyone or be like these slimy salespeople. But I guess we should fearmonger more, because there is like franchising is the most proven business model. Yes, 100%, but people still fail, and you can still fail. And if you choose the wrong business based on your skill sets and your financial situation, it could still be a great franchise system, but a terrible franchise system for you as an individual and for your area. And so anyways, so that guy's struggling. And then Kevin, I know that you had someone reach out. Do you want to talk about that for 30 seconds?
Yeah, I mean, it's just really unfortunate situation. Same about a year ago, we spoke with this guy, and he was like tunnel vision on this food opportunity, this food franchise. And I was just like, I mean, it's up to you, man. Like I'm telling you what I would recommend. I would recommend at least looking at some other options and exploring what else may be out there might be a good fit for you, because you have zero background in food. You actually have a pretty impressive sales background, which would lend itself well to other types of franchises. But long story short, he ended up just doing the food franchise, and they're not even like 3 months into being open, and he messaged me and he's asking if we can help sell it. And and it's
which is not what we do.
No,
at least in that instance.
And the thing is, like, you're not going to sell it because probably not making money, and nobody's going to buy that.
And if you do, for pennies on the dollar, for 20, 30 cents on the dollar.
So it's a bummer, and it's not to say it wasn't a good franchise, but it definitely sounds like it was not a good fit for his situation.
I know the franchise, and I don't think it's a good franchise.
Yeah, I was being nice.
There's a lot of people in that situation with that specific franchise. It was this hot food thing that a bunch of people were kind of talking about, making it seem like this sexy thing. It did not have the numbers to back it up in the FDD either. Their average sales showed like 450 grand. Their average sales showed 450 for a retail. As a retail location, if it doesn't show more than 750, 800 grand average, stay away. You're not going to be able to make money from it. When you add in your cost of debt service, like it's going to be too hard. It just blows my mind, and it's sad. It's really a sad situation, because that guy, he probably signed a 10-year lease that he personally guaranteed, right? And so what happens now? You bought an unproven franchise concept. Unproven. It's not proven.
And most landlords are going to be assholes about trying to get out of it. I mean, you could get lucky and find a landlord that'll work with you and let you get out of your lease, but most do not.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is why we do this newsletter. This is why we do it. And I know Kevin and Krista comb through trying to find some of the most proven opportunities, and that's where we go. There are folks out there that want to show the next hottest thing. That's not us. And yes, occasionally we have clients that buy emerging franchise when appropriate. There are different circumstances, like when nothing's available in your area and you really want to be in that space, etc. But like, we're trying to show you the proven ones. We're trying to show you, and no one else talks about franchise resales, really, in terms of the franchise brokerage and consulting world. Just so you guys know, to give you some perspective, they're way harder to navigate for us. They're much harder for us to lead you through a franchise resale than it is to help you buy a new franchise. They're way more complex. But we're all about trying to do the right thing. what's in your best interest? What do we think's going to support you and your goals? And then it's up to you to be able to make that decision. So, anyways, I think I've ranted for long enough on that specific topic. Again, if you're in your area, you can go to franchiseempire.com/resales, and you'll be able to schedule a free 15-minute call with Kevin or Krista, who are way nicer than me, way less intense than me. And so that'll spare you. Okay. Client case study. Speaking of resales, so this is and I've showed him before, but we're getting caught up on getting some new testimonials recorded, and I just figured this was perfect. So Tarek bought a franchise resale that was able to completely replace his income, which is super cool, and it's changed his life. It's completely changed his life. This guy wanted to be an entrepreneur for years. He was an engineer, successful guy, really smart guy. And it completely changed his life. Even he actually bought something that was so turnkey. There was a manager already in place. I talked to him like 6 months ago, and he was like, man, I'm only working like 15 hours a week. Now, okay, this is not the norm, by the way. This is not the norm most of the time, right? But he was like, I'm only working like 15 or 20 hours a week in this business. And I think I want to like look at some other stuff. And I tried to, get him to have us look, but he's more of a like wants to do things on his own kind of guy. Anyway, so he recently has found something else apparently, and he's actually going to come on the group call later and wants to ask me about it. But yeah, and then like Liz, Liz just sent an email. This was someone who had been working with some other franchise brokers and consultants outside of us, had reached out because she wasn't impressed with her just experience overall. It felt very transactional to her and not relational. Didn't feel like she was being just educated in the process. Worked with Kevin and team, and Kevin and team were able to find her a resale that was crushing it. And so this is what we do. This is what we do. Franchise of the week. All right. So average 1 mil, top 10%, 2.8. We'll show the numbers in a minute, but tell us about this electric opportunity, Kevin.
Yeah, I'll give you one guess what type of business it is. It's an electrical business called Mr. Electric. It's a Neighborly brand. So talked about Neighborly a bunch. If you don't know about them, Google Neighborly, but huge player in the home services space. But Mr. Electric, they do both residential and I think they do light commercial, electrical stuff. So installations, repairs, safety inspections, things like that. They have about 190 franchise units throughout the US. So pretty well established, but still, a lot of territory open, which is nice. And so the total investment for this one's between 152 and 314. I mean, I've heard it's 250 or less, even closer to 200 for this. But I imagine maybe there's a scenario where it can be on the higher end. But this one, you don't need even an office or a warehouse to get started. So you could literally start this out of just your Mr. Electric van, but they want people that are business owners that are going to hire electricians to work for them. So a lot of their owners do not have an electrical license. They don't have background in that in the industry. And so they're going to give you all the tools and the training to be successful. They're going to help train, that first electrician you hire. They'll help with that hiring practice and, who you should look for and the type of person, how you compensate them, everything like that. But I love this business because it's like electricians aren't going anywhere. Like it's actually like in super high demand, especially with like the involvement of technology and people wanting things installed in their house. I mean, it's just always I just don't see it ever being fully replaced by technology in our lifetime. So I think this is one that's very needed service and demand service. Obviously, you're managing somebody that is more technical and has a pretty good license and a higher salary than some of the other trades. But If you can be a true leader, the way I kind of talk about these businesses is like, if you can be a true CEO and manage the high level operations of the business, the marketing, and really be a leader that can build a culture and hire and retain electricians, you can scale this thing and build a really nice business for yourself. Uh, and so we've had people buy this franchise going through validation. They've talked to owners that are full time and have gradually went into really pretty passive involvement, because what's nice is like the electrician is going to go out, they're probably going to give the quote, do the work the same day, and collect payment. It's like they're doing a lot of the sales, operating, they're all handling that themselves, and you have one electrician per van. So it's very scalable. You just, as you get a certain level of backlog of customers, you add another van and another electrician. So if you're comfortable managing that kind of technical type of person and you feel like you could handle that, it can be a phenomenal business. And so we can look at the item 19 if you want.
Yeah, real quick before we dive into the numbers, guys, and these are the numbers are quite transparent, so it'll be really good for you to see. What we find is that when people see franchises like this, where it's quite obvious that it's proven, they got 189, 100, almost 190 franchisees. They show average owner does $1 million in sales, which we're about to show you the numbers. A lot of the times the question is like, what's still holding you back from pursuing franchising or just diving into it deeper or getting the intro? It's usually because you still feel like you don't know enough, or are you ready, or I still need to do more research. And so that's exactly why we created that was smooth, right? That's exactly why we created the Franchise Buyers Academy. And so I just want to show you behind the scenes. I'm not sure if I ever showed you behind the scenes of what we actually have in here in the Franchise Buyers Academy, but it's everything you need to know about buying a franchise and figuring out if it's the right opportunity for you. Not just that, then if you pursue it, what direction should you go and look at? So we cover all of the fundamentals, all the terms that you need to know, right? Is there, right? Franchise terms, business terms, why people are buying, pros and cons, right? So we're real. This is not like a fluff piece to be like, hey, you should buy a franchise. No, we're going to be real with you, go over what are the pros and cons. How do you actually make money? How does that work? What's the sales to investment ratios that I need to know? What's the difference between a service-based business like this and doing a gym and doing a fitness concept or doing a food concept or doing anything that you're signing a lease and you have to do a build out? How does that work in terms of the risk to you, the startup cost, the potential return on investment that you get? I literally break down specific franchise examples. I break down the numbers. I pull up the FDDs. We go over then how you would fund it. And I give examples of how you would structure the funding in those instances. Then all of the mistakes that you need to avoid when buying a franchise, how to narrow it down for you and for you to get to a point of clarity before you even talk with someone like our team or a franchise broker. How do you get to a point where you kind of have an idea of what your skill sets are and what might be good for you? Then we dive into the profit margins of specific franchises, what those percentages look like, and then how that plays into then scaling to becoming a multi-unit franchisee, all the way to then how to start with the end in mind of selling your business. So when you get into it, you can think like, okay, how do I position myself so I can sell for the maximum value? And we talk through that. So for anyone, by the way, all of this is $27. There's over 4 hours of content there. And so the reason we created this is because everyone is asking for, hey, we want more of a more consolidated source of information on how to really go through this process and to figure out, is franchising right for me? If so, how do I make money and what do I need to know? And so I would recommend go check it out, go secure it. It's actually been the most popular offering. It's actually kind of cool. So you can go to franchiseempire.com/FBA. And then once you enter all your info, you'll get immediate access, which is pretty cool. And I think we have like a 30-day money back guarantee on your $27 too. So it's like there's literally no risk there. But anyways, all right. So let's talk through the numbers of this Mr. Electric.
And I'll add one quick thing. You talk about like end game, like selling your business. Obviously, that's best case scenario. Worst case scenario, I talk to people about this. Worst case scenario for a business like this is you own a van, you sell that van and all the equipment to another Mr. Electric owner or some other electrician in your market, and that's it. Like you don't have a long-term lease you're stuck in. You haven't dumped a few 100,000 into a location that you'll never get value from that. That's the landlord's now. It's like totally different ways. So like even worst case scenario, you fail, which you don't plan in going into it, but people constantly think about it. It's like worst case scenario in a service-based business like this is not as nearly as bad as something else, in my opinion. But anyway, so let's talk about item 19 here. So the average gross sales, let's see. So top 10% is doing 2.8 million. If you go all the way down, I mean, 100%, they're averaging about a million. And I love how they break it down here in pretty good detail. But I mean, if you're top 50%, you're averaging 1.6 million in gross sales, which is pretty strong. And they don't break down net numbers, I don't believe, but I would have my assumptions on what potential net earnings would be, and you could get a better understanding through validation. But this
And
clear.
it's something we dive into in the Franchise Buyers Academy, which, the way the franchise, sorry to interrupt, Kevin, but the way that the franchise world works is that you can't make an earnings claim that doesn't exist. So you can't say, hey, you can make, unless it's disclosed in here, we can't say, hey, yeah, franchisees are making 50% profit margins. They're definitely not making 50% profit margins. So I just figured I'd throw out a crazy number just to, but in the Franchise Buyers Academy, this is literally, that's why I have a whole section on profit margins because I pull up different service-based franchises, retail-based franchises that do disclose profit margins. So we're able to talk through it. So you're able to get the base context of then that you then can apply towards, almost most other models as well. So anyways,
I think
sorry.
that's helpful because I really don't think, and I'm not knocking anybody. I just people don't have the experience that we do looking at these businesses, and oftentimes they'll come to us and they'll be like, "Yeah, it's like 40% profit margins," and when they pull up the information they're referencing, it's like that's gross profit. Like that doesn't include the lead. Like it's not even including all your overhead, and
Oh
so
yeah, people don't know what gross profit means.
yeah,
I didn't know what it meant when
yeah,
we looked at our franchise.
yeah. So it's
That's
really
another term that's in the Franchise Buyers Academy, and I explain it, by the way.
so it's important to understand those numbers pretty clearly. Um, anyways, yeah, but I mean, I like Mr. Electric quite a bit. I think it's one of their fastest growing brands in the Neighborly network. I think this one and their HVAC company are the two fastest growing franchises right now.
And we help someone buy a Mr. Electric, right?
Yeah, yeah. One guy in Denver and another in San Diego area.
Yeah, cool. So, guy, I mean, when you look at these numbers, I mean, it's quite transparent, right? And let's give you the full scope. So, you got the worst performing franchisee doing 118 grand, the worst performing, and the highest performing 3.1 million, and the average just over 1.08 million, and even the median is at over a million. So when you look at this, the question that you should be asking yourself is, what's the difference? What's the difference between the franchisees who do a little bit in the middle, top, right? And how do I become one of those? That really is what becomes the the question.
This is I'll shed some light on that. For this particular one, I know there are in the past when they kind of first got started in franchising, there were some electricians that bought into this, and I would almost guarantee you the people that are doing 118,000 are solo electricians operating under the Neighborly brand who have just never really scaled their business. They're just and so I do think there are some in that, but they really want people that are more like business savvy and are going to build a team of electricians, not be the actual electrician.
Yeah, and to that point, I had a friend of mine, a close buddy of mine, and this is not a franchise, so I can say these numbers because there's no disclosure rules around this. But he built his company up to like $12 million a year in sales, doing fire and water restoration, and he didn't he didn't know the technical side of the business. Like he obviously had to have like a thorough understanding, but like he wasn't the one out there doing the work. He was just a genius marketer and great at building teams. And so, he had 40, 50 employees and was able to build it up. He had techs. He would hire some of the best general managers and people to run the warehouse and the construction division and the restoration division and all those different things. And eventually, he recently wound up selling the company to a private equity firm. So you may think, I don't want to be I don't want to have a business with a bunch of electricians, but maybe I don't know, maybe you do.
Yeah. So I kind of touched on some of these points. I think all of them really. The only thing I didn't touch on is they do have a corporate call center that handle, they're going to do a lot of marketing for you to generate leads. And then they have that call center that schedules and puts all the leads on your electrician's calendar, which is kind of nice. So
that's really nice. Cool. So if you guys want to see, number one, if Mr. Electric has any availability in your specific territory, or if you just want to see, hey, what other franchises that match my skill sets and my budget are available in my area, then you can do that for free and set up a 15-minute call with the team at franchiseempire.com/check territory. All right, last but not least, the Franchise Empire Show episode, war veteran. He was in the military, did some tours overseas. Crazy story, actually. He wound up working for the franchise, a security franchise. He worked for the franchise as an employee doing security, and then like rose up the ranks working for a franchisee, and then wind up partnering with the franchisee, and then wind up buying out the franchisee entirely. Now he owns multiple different markets. He has like 100 employees.
Wow.
Something crazy. And just a cool, humble guy, knows his business inside and out, just works hard. It was a really cool episode, and it was actually really interesting for him to, I was asking him about how he structures his business and how he oversees all the people in the different states. And so I thought it was a really cool episode. So you guys can check that out at the Franchise Empire Show YouTube channel. And yeah, you can check it out there. Sweet. Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for this week. We had a long one, and I went on a few rants.
Next week we'll keep it short.
Yeah,
maybe.
But thank you, Kevin, and team for putting together the newsletter, for compiling the data and doing all that research. We appreciate you guys.
All right, man. Have a good week.
You too. Peace. Bye, y'all.